We've had a rules drop for the big chicken walker. Let's see what it's about. So whilst we don't know the points cost, so therefore it's hard to determine just how good it's going to be or not in the game. And as a reminder, this is in the big Armageddon launch box that's coming, but we've got it. We've got the data sheet for the Big Mek Dakkarig, or the chicken walker. So 8-inch movement, which I suppose is fairly standard when it comes to these walker units. Tough 8. So it's going to do well against small arms fire, but anything anti-tank is going to be wounding it pretty easily. It's got a 3-up and then a 5-up invuln. So again, pretty good against lower AP weapons, and you might get lucky. 1 in 3 chance to shrug off a las cannon or something else like that. 11 wounds is pretty meaty. That's not too shabby at all. And then it's leadership 7 and OC 3. So a little bit of weight on objectives. When it comes to its weapons, there's nothing to switch out or pick between. You get the rocket launcher and the blitz cannon. So both of these have got heavy. Whilst you've got that 8-inch move, the updated heavy rules are a bit kinder, so you're not going to need to stand completely stock still. You can just toe out from behind a ruin up to 3 inches, and you're still going to get that +1 to your ballistic skill, which, obviously, we're orcs. We definitely need any help we can get when it comes to the DAKKA. Hitting on a 5 is a bit unfavourable, even more so with the new cover rules, because a lot of the time we're going to be finding ourselves hitting on 6s, but with heavy, that could bring that down to a 4. If we can find a way to get ignores cover, then actually that high number of shots, which as you can see here, 6 on the rockets, 8s on the blitz cannon, these are pretty high strength attacks, 7 and 10. So the option to go into some lighter vehicles or make a real mess of Space Marine and Terminator equivalents, as these are damage 2 and damage 3. The damage 2 surprised me. I'm quite pleased to see that's pretty meaty. Obviously, a lot of the shots aren't going to hit due to the low ballistic skill, but every one that does with AP2 and damage 2 is going to be pretty impressive going into medium infantry. If it does end up in close combat, it doesn't seem to be particularly suited. 4 attacks sitting on a 3, AP1, damage 1. Might be enough to finish off a lighter unit of infantry on the charge, but that's where we are from a unit of weapons, and it does get sustained hits 1 on that big blitz cannon. Then when we take a look at its datasheet rule, this further enforces this is there to gun down medium, light, and maybe even elite infantry. In your shooting phase only, when you're making attacks, the blitz cannon specifically, after a non-monster or vehicle, is get an extra 6 attacks. So it's going to take it all the way up to 14 shots. Again, a lot of those are going to miss, but that's an awful lot of shots for AP2 damage 2. And as we said earlier, no options to swap out his war gear. Now, the bit that I'm finding quite interesting is actually going to be considered a character as well, because of that big mech that's leading it. So that means we can run enhancements on this. One of those that springs to mind here is the goggles. Giving it ignores cover, I think, is going to be really helpful with that high number of shots coming into 11th edition. Rather than hitting on a 6, we're going to be hitting on a 5, ignoring the cover. If we're using that heavy, then we're hitting on 4. If we're shooting infantry, that number of shots goes all the way up to 14. That could be pretty spicy. From a stratagem's point of view, you could give it assault. If you were less interested in the heavy, it was more about being able to get where you're going. The option to run this a bit quicker with that half-decent movement is going to be quite nice. Then bigger shells. If you need to take out something that is that bit harder to wound, getting +1 to wound is going to be quite nice to go into those things. Or if you want to try and be more consistent with that shooting, for 1 command point, you can get rerolls of 1s, or if you push it, you get full rerolls to hit. With that high number of shots, and the fact that you've got sustained hits, potentially combining that with the option for lethal hits, maybe this thing's going to be a bit cooler than I'm thinking it is. So we'll have to see what it's like on the points cost, but I'm pretty excited for the Chicken Walker. Lastly, as a reminder, guys, the giveaway does end in a couple of days' time. If you haven't commented on the pinned post, make sure you get over there. We're giving away almost £800 worth of Warhammer this Friday.